Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it is I, once again, Tartarus Queen Dragoness, back with another video. Okay, now, as you can tell from the background, I'm pretty much in a very precarious situation here. So, I know the video looks a little bit goofy, but there's a reason for this. And that reason is basically I had actually went to this location, Memorial Hermann, Katy Hospital, which has a neurological research institute built into it, which was supposed to be the perfect setting. Now, as many of you all like to know, I like to go to these specific locations to essentially prove a point as to what I'm going to be talking about in said video. But unfortunately, when I went over and did my video and tried to edit it, there was a very there was a lot of wind that was blowing not only in my microphone here on my shirt, but it was also blowing into the microphone of the phone. So the sound quality was very terrible. Now, I could have indeed went back to the location, but as it currently stands, as of Saturday, December 7th at 8:16 in the morning, when I went to look at the weather forecast and look outside my window, well, there's a lot of rain clouds and a lot of rain. So, going to that location again has been deemed, well, relatively impossible. So, what are we here for? What's this video going on about? Why am I going through all this like extra effort and extra trouble to go and bring home a point? Well, there is one there is an event that's going around, and I'm not going to beat around the bush. I haven't been living under a rock when it comes to the everything that is related to the transgender community. Okay, I'm well aware of the Sarah McBride situation. I'm very well aware of that. But rather than me talking about my grievances about the Sarah McBride situation, I want to be able to get to the bottom of why in the world we're here in the first place. Okay, why in the world is there so much discourse that the trans community is in a very it's such a predicament where they're about to lose not only their livelihood but their lives as well. We know, and I know, and you know, that there is a lot of people in upper government that has essentially been making laws against the trans community. Trans healthcare, trans, what's it called, psychologists, trans surgeons, everything of that sort of nature. So, rather than me spewing out again my grievances about that, because I know we could, a lot of people have been giving their opinions about what's been going on with the trans community. I want to get to the real root cause of all this. Why in the world lawmakers, especially the goofball with the most notoriously bad toupee, and who's had a history of using and abusing people. And yes, I did hear about Jeffrey Epstein and what he had to say about Donald Trump. And listening to everybody, I know where this is all coming from. I know exactly where this is all coming from. And it is pretty much down to the fact that we are creating laws and ordinances and ruin people's lives to something that we as humans don't really fundamentally understand ourselves. Case in point, we as the LGBT community have been wanting to find out why we are we are. The people on the conservative side, as well as the liberal side, have been wanting to know the fundamental answer to that question. Why is it why the way we are? And we're creating laws against the trans community based on limited knowledge. And we're basing our laws based on the knowledge that we've been given by the World Health Organization. Now, in this entire video, I'm probably going to end up making a lot of people confused, as well as intrigued, as well as I'm probably going to trigger a lot of people in this video. Hell, you know what? I'm expecting a lot of death threats in this video, both from the conservatives and from the liberals. Yes, I am. And even people who are religious, what is it called? Background. Yes, I'm expecting a lot of people to hate on me on this video. So, in case you're wondering, is it worth it? In case you want to keep on living under a rock, I suggest leave your death threat at the bottom comment section down below and leave this video. Because obviously you're not worth my time, and you think I'm not worth your time. Okay. So, I want to make one thing absolutely clear about all this. This entire culture war can be for lack of a better term, discovered as the basis of all this argumentation. And you might be thinking, well, it's the liberals' fault for allowing PDF files or MAGA pushing out rhetoric against the LGBT community, and Dylan Mulvaney doing his little tampon movement, or what is it called? Some of the people in the LGBT community making fun of their own people, such as Baby Omar and Blair White. And people have a problem with those too. And they're calling them, you know what, conservative freaks. Or liberal, or liberal chastisers or whatnot. But it's not the case. And it took me a long time to figure this out. It's not about politics per se, rather than our fundamental way of processing information. Oh yes. We don't really know this, or a lot of us are not completely aware of this, but it took me a long, good while to make myself have an epiphany as to the existence of these two types of people. And throughout history, we have seen this type of battle between these two types of people. In history, we have. It is people who think only tangibly, using only their five senses, to form a truth. Whereas people on the liberal side, they end up thinking very abstractly. They think about the nuances. They think about everything that is colorful out of the world. And that's where this whole argumentation really comes to fruition. It is not about conservatives. It is not about liberals. Although you could actually put these two groups as conservatives being people who think tangibly. Their reality is their perception of what they can see, touch, smell, hear, and taste. Whereas in the liberal side, they're very abstract thinkers. They think between the lines. They think about difference in depths, in nuances, and to some extent they might end up going a little bit cuckoo and off the rails and be compared to people who are of the homelessness. And they think everything is the freaking devil. Well, the same thing can be said on the conservative side. And so, what happens when you give this type of information from the World Health Organization, whose only psychological process is that of tangible thinking? Remember, these are medical scientists. They only believe in what they see, smell, touch, taste, and hear. And everybody in the tangible side of logic was very proud to hear this. But it left a somewhat bitter taste in the abstract people. But is what the World Health Organization the end-all be-all to everything? No. No. We've seen the World Health Organization make this type of flop before. Why? Why am I saying that this is a big flop? Back in the 60s, when the Civil Rights Movement was about to happen, they too, the World Health Organization, and everybody else back then, were wondering, well, why are homosexuals the way they are? And why is it back then the World Health Organization deemed homosexuals to be born this way? It all comes down to timing. You see, back then, the World Health Organization couldn't come up with an explanation as to why gays were gays. So they just simply gave up. The way that they based their information and their claim as to why gays are the way they are is because of the timing, of the exhibition of the behaviors of a homosexual person. It is exhibited at a very, very, very extremely young age. So that's why they chalked it up to gays being gays, because, well, they're born in that way. Later on, in about, 2019? The final frontier of the LGBT community was trans people. When the World Health Organization got to get involved, well, what happened? They did their research, and it was claimed that the transgenderism, is an ideology. Something that can be taught. And at first, I was kind of devastated to hear this news. But at the end of the day, I started to wonder. And I conversed with my family about this, is how can something be taught if throughout history there has been homosexuals and transgender people? And not only was it proven that these people existed throughout history, but currently to this day, whether you're in Indonesia, whether you're in China, whether you're in Japan, whether you're an Iran, Iraqi, Yemen people, people of Egyptian culture, people in the UK, people in England, people in the United States, people in Brazil, people in Mexico. Why? How is it an ideology if these people, the transgender people, exist all over the world? And it's been proven that transgender people lived amongst humans for hundreds of years. How can it be an ideology? Nobody can explain why transgender people, even though everybody wants to know why gays are gay, and why trans are trans, and why bisexuals are the way they are. Nobody knows. Nobody can know. Not even the World Health Organization. Do you have any idea how many times the World Health Organization has been duped in medical miracles? Case in point. Way back at about a decade and a half, to about 2 decades ago, I still remember this. There was a story that said from Inside Edition, and I still remember the network and the news program that said this. From Inside Edition, they reported on a man who had full-blown AIDS. Full-blown AIDS. Now, in case you don't know, a person with full-blown AIDS usually typically has a lifespan of 10 years left on them. And that lifespan could be decreased by exposure to different ailments. Now, if a person with AIDS was to get exposed to the COVID virus, well, there goes 5 years of their lifespan. What about the flu? There goes a year. So that's 6 years in total. Gone. Poof. Just like that. So they only have 4 years left of life. But when this man did his this man did his meditations. He did some exercises. He traveled. He ate very healthy. And by the time that this man was supposed to have died, the doctors were very baffled. Wait a minute. You're supposed to already be dead. Come to find out, they extracted blood from him, did some tests, and lo and behold, his full-blown AIDS has miraculously disappeared. I still remember it. To this day. You think for once that the World Health Organization is a very reliable source and dependable, and even medical scientists to this day still can't fathom why this man's full-blown AIDS miraculously disappeared. The same thing that can be done for people with blindness. How are people who are blind can see? What about cancer? How are some people with cancer able to get rid of such a disease without the use of chemotherapy? You want to also know why the health organization is also not reliable, and why laws are being based around the World Health Organization, but it is a very unreliable source. And this is going to end up delving into some religious abstract stuff. Now, I have done a bit of research, as well as gone on a few ghost hunts. Way back in the day. I did a few, but I wasn't really dedicated. What I have learned from during my, process of spiritual awakening while doing these quests, I have learned that children have a really weird sense when they are born. And they have proven that there are spirits that walk among us. Because when God puts you on this earth, God gives you the ability to be as a whole person. So your mind and body and spirit are as one. And because your mind, body, and spirit are one, well, you could actually converse and see some things that a human being that has lived for a long time has lost the capacity to. Now, there are some instances where some people have kept a certain level of this ability throughout their entire lives, or as prolonged as it could be. We've seen animals do the same thing, where they are very observant and privy to paranormal activity. Yet the World Health Organization cannot prove this. It is a tangible way of thinking that cannot extrapolate or fathom this level of this level of abstract thinking, or abstract situations. So people who think in a tangible way, do not believe that this concept ever exists. Because they cannot process it because of the way their brain structure is. It is neither a disability, a disease, or any, type of disorder, because it doesn't hinder the person's ability to live and function in a normal society, but rather their ability to process certain information. That's the difference. To put it into perspective, you have two computers built with the same GPU, the same motherboard, the same RAM sticks, but one uses a Ryzen processor and the other one uses, a Dell processor. It's the same thing. Both processors process differently and have different capacities. And that's just to put it into technical standards. Now, am I losing some of you? Probably so. And that's fine. I don't expect none of you to understand what I'm saying. I'm trying. But it's kind of inevitable that some people are not going to understand me because their brain processes are different. People who think only tangibly cannot think abstractly. I'm sorry, Ben Shapiro, but you're one of those people. You tried your best. You try your best, Mr. Shapiro, but you waffle. I'm not gonna lie, you do waffle. Horribly. It's the same thing that people like Dylan Mulvaney. He's unable to fathom the information of tangible logic. He just is. Is it his fault? No. It's just the way that he was born in. It's the way that God put him on this earth. I don't blame him on a personal level. Will I be able to be friends with him? Will I be able to be friends with Dave Shapiro? No! Because they think too far tangibly or they think too far abstractly. And I'm humbled enough to understand that I'm never going to be able to converse or debate with these type of people. It's just not possible. It's the same thing with other people, especially people like Blair White. Same thing. Trans community, but can only think tangibly. I'm not entirely sure who's also a very liberal transgender person. I'm pretty sure there is one, but I haven't come across her just yet. Or have I? Oh yes, I actually have come across one. Samantha Lux. Now she thinks pretty abstractly. And I just came across her. But she seems like I might not be able to get along with her as well. Because she thinks too abstractly. She's just like Blair White. But only instead of Blair White being as conservative as she is, Mrs. Lux, well, she is a very abstract individual. Now, I haven't seen enough of her videos to actually confirm this, but based on my analysis so far, it seems that it's headed in the right direction. Sorry, Mrs. Lux. As much as I wanted to get to know you better, it seems that we may not get along. Because I am neither one of these types of people. I really am not. Neither one of these types of people. I'm more in the type of middle. I know full well that these people are complete nutjobs. You have the people who are like the people of Donald Trump who are saying, bro boys this, bro boys that. And then you have people in the Kamala Harris situation, they're saying, oh, diversity, DEI, oh this, oh that, oh, we're gonna be slaves tomorrow type of people. Yes, I did see that the whole debacle of the meltdowns of the liberal side. That was embarrassing. But while the internet pushes forward these ridiculous rhetorics, there's one thing that I have not seen yet. What about the people that are in the middle of all of this? That neither think so far abstractly, oh, so far tangibly. What about those people? Well, both sides on the internet, since they are having their little squabble on Twitter and TikTok and all this other stuff, and on top of that, you have these conservatives who are pushing that the liberals are nut jobs promoting, oh, I don't know, pedophilism and SAs, which for the most part, the vast majority of the trans community is not even like that. Do you have any idea what percentage of the trans community is saying that the Republicans are saying that they exist? Barely any. Barely any. Yet, the stories are coming out saying, oh, fear the trans community because they're like this. Fear them all. There's nothing to fear about the trans community, really. Let's put this into perspective. As to not fear the trans community. Did you know that the trans community actually is very beneficial and is working hard in the back sidelines? But you don't get to hear those stories. So let me give you a little hint. Let me give you a little perspective. The vast majority of the transgender community are people who work in the IT business, or banks, or in some cases, depending on the state that you live in, the retail market. But the vast majority are in the IT industry. The phone apps that you use, the phones that you buy, the cash registers at your local supermarket, the stock market computers. The IT industry is a very big, very, very vast industry. And very smart people, too. So smart that in my quest to continuously make content about transgenders around the world, I came across something very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. And this is going to scare a lot of people. And this is going to make people cheer at the same time. Did you know that or it's been a while since I've did this type of research, I don't know if they're currently still there right now, but when I did my research, I found out there was a transgender individual working on the Oracle. Yes, the Oracle. Now you might be asking to yourself, well, what is this Oracle? The Oracle controls about 90 to 95% of everything that is electronic and information. The network. 90 to 95. Your phones. Your computers. The apps that you use. Even as far as the world's missile defense systems. All their data is gathered into one source known as the Oracle. And you might be wondering, oh no, the transgender community is invading our private lives and internet information network. Do you have any idea how difficult it is to work for the Oracle or in the space of the Oracle? Do you have any idea how difficult it is? It is extremely difficult. One thing I found out as to the reason why it's so difficult is not only do you have to have very good technical capabilities and IT expertise, but there is one big roadblock, and that is getting approved by NATO. In order to work on the Oracle, maintain a streamlined information base without any lag, interruptions, or hackers, you need to be approved by NATO in order to get into there. Now, my memory may be skewed on that one, but for some odd reason, I still remember that in great detail. So yes, all you crazy MAGA members, freak out, because at some point, you might end up having a missile launched at your home. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. The point of working on the Oracle is to maintain the information network. That's all there is they're going to do. That's all there is. And people don't know this. Shocking, isn't it? Am I losing some of you? I probably lost some of you already. Because you're baffled that a trans person can actually control the missile defense systems. Booyah! I just don't understand why we allow these two factions, these two forms of idiocy, to fight with one another, to the point where we are at this point in time. I don't know. Do you know? Does anybody ever know? Now, what about the concept of religion? Here we go. Here's where more death threats come in. Because now I'm going to go into religion. Well, if you give a Holy Bible to a conservative, and you give a Holy Bible to a liberal, what do you think is going to end up happening? You're going to see a pretty stark difference into how these people think and how they debate with each other. And the Holy Bible is the one that is supposed to be teaching people on how to get along. Right? Right. But I'm going to end up having a hot take on this one. Because this is going to make people confused, and this is going to make people mad. Okay? The people who read the Bible are being told the truth as well as a lie. Now, how do I know this? Now, before you get your pitchforks out, before you get your bonfires and pitchforks out, let me cook a little bit. In this day and age, I have seen a pastor who went into a college. It came up on my YouTube feed not too long ago. I'm surprised I haven't even subscribed to this man so I could pull up the videos for you, but it's going to take some searching. But he's this type of man that goes around college campuses challenging people's views on religion. And it's interesting to see how people of tangible thinking and abstract thinking perceive some things about the Bible. Oh, but it just doesn't stop there. It just doesn't stop there. What about people who read the Quran? What about people who study the Torah? Should we go even further? What about Satanism? Nobody wants to know about Satanism. But what's interesting about all of this is that these people at both sides of the spectrum of each religious text are battling with one another with their way of thinking. We've seen these people with the Quran. We've seen what happens over in the Middle East. There are terrorists over there because they think only tangible things. They only see tangible things. They only process tangible things within the Quran. And yet there are people who also process things in the Quran in an abstract way. And they're fighting just as badly as we are, the Catholics and the Christians. But if you see these two people fight against each other, the people who study the Quran, both the abstract thinkers of the Bible and the Quran, and the tangible thinkers of the Bible and the Quran, you can see that there's differences in their logic. And if you people, these two factions, with the same types of people, against people who study the Torah, well, guess what? You get more differences and nuances. But here's the funny thing about this is, and remember I said earlier that the Quran, the Bible, and the Torah, and maybe Satanism, are all telling the truth and telling the lie at the same time. But here's the kicker. Did you know that all of these texts can actually validate and debunk one another? I've seen this happen multiple times with that priest in hand. Multiple times. You can see it. You don't have to be educated in the Torah, the Quran, and the Holy Bible. You don't have to read those three texts. Just look at this pastor and see these people from different cultures and different religious backgrounds debate with this guy. You can see it. You can definitely see it. And just like the LGBT community and the people who are straight, you could see that these people don't really get along as well. Will they ever get along? No. Because they're too stubborn. They're too stubborn. Either because they are afraid of what they're going to learn next, Or they're gonna, what, learn how to be terrorists? Or learn how to be something uh, that they fear is going to send them to, I don't know, proverbial hell? Or get stuck in purgatory? Who knows? Who knows? I don't know. But the mere fact that you're stuck in your way of thinking, instead of allowing yourself to be educated in certain things, and stop being stubborn, well, of course you're gonna go to hell. That's just the way things are. Of course, there are people out there like myself who don't think stubbornly like these people. And yet there are laws that are being created by these stubborn people. And exacerbate the situation even worse because of some of these people. And I'm over here with my orange bottle of water, and I don't have my Cheetos with me today. And I'm munching over there, arms crossed. No, my legs are crossed. Okay, my legs are crossed. I'm sitting back here, and I'm looking at this shit show, and I'm sitting with probably some other people. I'm looking over to the left, I'm looking over to the right, and all of us, you know what we're all doing? That's what we're all doing. The people who are outside, who are looking in, with this crazy internet mobs going up against each other, conservatives, liberals, the ways of thinking of tangibility and abstractness is going head to head with each other, and it's embarrassing. You got the World Health Organization going against people of churches. It's silly. Yet the funny thing about this is, even though we know they're stupid, we know that they can't process this information, it's thanks to these great evils on display that gives people like me the advantage to try to get along with other people that just don't want to have any part of this. Don't want to have any part of this. I don't want to have any part of this. We're all sick and tired of this shit show. Is it funny? Was funny. Now it's just cringe. Yesterday when I was doing the filming of the video, you have any idea how many people in the medical center in the parking lot have passed by me but didn't stop to engage with me in a very negative way? You know how many people did? How many did? None of them! And I live in the state of Texas. None of them. And yet, for some odd reason, people in the upper echelons of government think that the trans community is a problem, when the vast majority of people don't think the trans community is a problem. How do we know this? Now that I educated you guys into the fact that one is or was in the Oracle, and a vast majority of them are working with computers in computer software companies. The phone you're using, the cash registers at your local Walmart and Costco, the auto parts shops, air traffic control, people all over the freaking world. Come on, guys, really? Just really, come, oh my God. I just thought I put my thoughts out there on the internet. Because frankly, it's not because of the politicalness. We're the only country in the entire world that is putting politics in the LGBT community. Did you know that? We're the only country that's doing that. The other countries, maybe like the communist countries, they're doing it. Like Russia and China and North Korea, they're doing it. And what was it? Was it Iraq or Iran? I'm not entirely sure. But India's fine with it. Oh, before then, like early 2000s, up until the early 2000s, people in India were so opposed to it. But because they went through like a little bit of a revolution over there and dismantled the caste system, well, they had a rebirthing. And there are trans people living amongst the Indian people. So even the Indian people have a revelation. So why do we as the United States seem to have a fundamental problem with the trans community? Why is the rhetoric being pushed out like that? You think that's all there is to it? No. I know it isn't. None of us do. That are living normal human lives. That are driving cars, that are making car payments. Working 9-to-5 jobs. Working in the IT field. Working to make up for lost time because the education system sucks. Terribly. And yet, the people up there in the upper echelons of government, including state governments, local governments, national governments, in the United States of America, is just waffling so hard. I gotta admit, it's very entertaining. I'm gonna admit, right now, it is very entertaining. But it's also very cringe at the same time. But it's funny to me that there's not enough people willing to really sit down and engage with one another. But that's just the two extremes that just don't want to get along with each other. That's religious factions that don't want to get along with each other. They say that they get along with each other, but have they taken the time to actually read the works of everybody else? No. Because they think they're going to hell. It's just a messed up situation. I'm hoping we can all get along after all of this. I'm hoping after 4 years of this complete and utter hilarity that is going to happen after the swearing in of Donald Trump, that we can all look back on after 4 years and have a good laugh with some beer and wine with all the straight people, all the LGBT people. I hope we can all just, go to a pub, go to a club, go to any place else within the conservative states, within the liberal states, and say, ha 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 ha, you screwed up. Both of you, we laugh in your faces. Today, I laugh in the face of both of these factions. Well, 3 if you consider the religious ones. But even then, in the religious factions, there's both of these types of people. And it's not just empathy. It's not just acceptance. It's allowing ourselves to go and become a more evolved person. I can't be the only one who thinks this. I really don't think that I'm the only one who thinks this. Now, there's certain people that have a more abstract mind or a more tangible mind than coming from the middle. Of course. Can I tolerate them? Exactly. Our languages and our interpretations are going to be slightly different, but we're pretty much in the same boat. You're tired of them too. I'm tired of them too. We're all tired of them too. And yet, by the end of the day, I can either start making people think and start unifying people with this video. And like I said before, I'm probably going to most likely get a lot of death threats. Because I've been poking around certain things. Because they don't have the mental capacity. And I'm not telling you that you're retarded or anything. No. I'm not telling you. You're just born this way. It's not your fault on a personal level. It's just the way you are. The way God put on you. That's all I gotta say. And we cannot rely on organizations such as the churches and the World Health Organization to help us figure out why we are the way we are. Will we find the answer? I'm pretty sure we will. I am definitely aware that we will find the answer. But as it currently stands right now, we're too stupid to find the answer. So all we have to do is join hands, sing Kumbaya, and just like say, you know what, you're the type of person in my world. I will sit down beside you and have a beer, or maybe some, or I'm willing, as a man who eats nothing but raw beef, help to, I don't know, go a little vegan. Eat a salad for once. Maybe you can stop that indigestion in your belly that your wife has been seriously saying, I'm tired of sending you to the doctor and I'm tired of buying all these laxatives for you. Requiescat de Pace, and for God's sakes, I hope I just can live in peace. Because this is crazy. And I'm pretty sure that there are people who want the same.